if you don't see what's going on and refuse to cooperate with it, by very little time from now, you, your kids and grandkids are going to be living in a global fascist dictatorship of total 24-hour surveillance control.
In a recent interview, writer and broadcaster David Icke shares his views on the global financial system, which he believes is controlled by a global cult that uses it to manipulate the population. He argues that the system is designed to create endless cycles of boom and bust, benefiting a wealthy elite at the expense of the general public. Icke warns that if people don't wake up and resist what's happening, the world will soon be living under a global fascist dictatorship, marked by constant surveillance and control every hour of the day. Stay until the end of the video to hear David Icke discuss why these events are unfolding and explore potential solutions to stop them. Before we continue with the rest of the video, do check out Daily 5-Minute Crypto Newsletter with all the latest crypto and Bitcoin news. It's a fantastic analysis of on-chain crypto data and breakdowns, and the best part is it's absolutely free. They'll cover expert predictions, breakdowns of on-chain crypto data, and any breaking news you need to know, all in a nutshell. Click the first link in the description and enter your email to join over 50,000 others in becoming a better crypto investor right now.
It all comes down in the end, in terms of these society-controlling institutions, to what I call the global cult, which is a global network of secret societies and semi-secret groups with ultimately, if you go deep enough in the rabbit hole, a mission control, a central organizational center. This explains why countries tend to respond to the same kind of situations in extraordinarily the same way. The thing is, if you're talking about control and the need to control, then you look at society as it's structured, and control is overwhelmingly dictated by money. Who has it and who doesn't? And if you look at a definition of freedom, well, it's choice. The more choices you can make, the freer you are. The fewer choices you can make, the less free you are. And in the way that society is structured today, what dictates choice more than anything than money? Who has it and who doesn't? So I hear people talk about how the billionaires and the billionaire corporations, etc., are all about money. But, well, yes, on one level, they have a mentality that is it has an insatiable greed. But the bottom line of bottom lines is not about accumulation of money. It's accumulation of control via the weapon of money. And when you look at how this cult, in all its different expressions, brought in the money system to what it is today, it's founded on creating money out of nothing called credit and charging interest on it. You know, you go into a bank and you say, borrow £100,000. Well, in theory. Well, the bank doesn't do anything in terms of moving precious metal around or any of this stuff. It puts into your account £100,000 called credit that has never, does not, and will never exist except in theory. And then it says, for doing that, we're going to charge you interest. And if you don't pay back the principal and the interest on credit, then we are going to take your wealth that does exist, your house, your business, your land, whatever. And if you look at this creation of money, even in theory, when you go to a bank and you get a loan, you will borrow £100,000 in theory, and they will put £100,000 into your account. But you're not paying back £100,000. You're paying back £100,000 plus interest. the interest is never created, only the principal, even in this theoretical way. And thus, by design, not accident, there is never at any point enough units of exchange, money, in whatever form it takes, in circulation to pay back all the principal on the debt outstanding and all the interest on the debt outstanding. So absolutely included in the way it's structured is that people are going to lose their homes, they're going to lose their businesses because there's not enough money in circulation to pay back all the debt. This gets kind of frustrating when you observe the terms that are used. For instance, the woke mentality is called liberal. Oh, I'm sorry, it's the way I tell them. It's the most illiberal mentality you'll ever come across in your life. You know, it's fascism more than liberalism. But then you hear this anti-capitalism, down with capitalism. Well, it would be nice if we had it. What we have is cartelism. If you take an example like Facebook, take Amazon, take many of these companies. They are cult companies. They were created with cult money, which was limitless. And so what happens is they are built up to become monopolies. And in their developmental period, they are allowed to lose loads of money. Look at Amazon, for goodness sake, loads of money year after year, phenomenal amounts of money, because they're building a monopoly. And so you then reach the point where you have your near monopoly and you start to make vast amounts of money. And at that point, you can start dictating the odds. You know, this is why suddenly, after we had a free internet, now YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Google, etc., are involved in the most extreme hysterical censorship, which is simply digital book burning that the Nazis engaged in. And what you're doing is you have these companies being built up with CIA money in terms of Facebook, etc. And they are competing against other companies. You could call them genuinely capitalist companies that have entrepreneurs that are using their creativity. But those other companies they're competing with do have to watch the bottom line. They can't go on losing money year on year on year. And so they're under a tremendous disadvantage to these cult companies that have a limitless cash flow until they don't need it anymore because they dominate the market. And then what happens, and we've seen this with Facebook and so many others, is when other companies come along, they just buy them up. When the competition comes along, they buy them up and they take them over. And they basically have no competition in the end, worth the name. And that's cartelism. When you see groups within the same financial area, be they oil companies, be they social media companies, be they banks, whatever, moving as one unit to control the market. That's not capitalism. That's communism. That's centralization of control. And when you have your other cult-created organizations like PayPal and these other groups in the financial area, who then say to people who are competing against cult companies like Facebook or social media, when independent social media entrepreneurial people, proper capitalist people, if you like, start to build up non-censored social media platforms and non-censored video platforms, what happens is these cartel companies like PayPal and other payment companies come in and say, no, we're not going to work with you anymore. So you can't go on operating, because you can't operate without us, because we control this market. I set on a journey from an understanding that the forces that appeared to be controlling the world, like governments and prime ministers and presidents, actually weren't. The real power was in the shadows, where you never saw it. So I went on this journey of uncovering it, and to uncover not only that the power is in the unseen, but what that power is seeking to do in terms of where it wants to take humanity. Now, because you're dealing with psychopaths who have no empathy and no limits, where they want to take humanity is truly, truly horrific. And I saw this from the early 1990s. And if you're a father, if you're a grandfather, and if you're a human being that just cares about freedom and justice and fairness, and you look at little kids, and you see that what those kids, or the world, the society that those kids are going to live in virtually all their lives, if we don't head this off, which I could see. I mean, at the time, of course, people were laughing. It's all a load of rubbish, that hike. But I knew it was true. And that's why I kept going, despite all the ridicule and all the abuse, because I knew where it was going. And so I looked at these kids, and I looked at my own children, and I saw the world that was planned for them. And, if you have a smear of decency, then what you do then is you give the rest of your life to trying to head it off and to alert people to it, so that they can put an end to it. Which brings me to the second question, which is, how do we bring an end to it? Well, people say, what's the solution? Well, I'm not interested in solutions. I'm interested in removing the cause of the problem, because that is the solution. You can constantly look for solutions to a problem. And what solutions normally do, see politics, is lead to more and more problems, which need more and more solutions, which lead to more problems. If you're going to break the cycle, then you have to remove the cause of the problem. And if you remove the cause of the problem must disappear, because its cause is gone. And the problem, and you look right the way through human history, the problem with humanity, which is why the few have always controlled the many. I don't care what the culture is. I don't care what the historical era is. It's the same. Is because the many give their power to the few in the form of acquiescence. And that is how the few have always controlled the many. And if we didn't do that, the few have no power over us. So if someone comes out of Downing Street or the White House and says, we've had a discussion, they do it all the time these days, and this is what's going to happen. If enough of the population say, we're not doing that, then they have no power. There's not enough of them to impose it.
David Icke points out that the people we see in positions of power, such as presidents and prime ministers, aren't truly in control. Instead, the real power lies with hidden forces that have sinister plans for humanity. These forces, he claims, lack empathy and operate without limits. Icke first became aware of this in the early 1990s, and despite being mocked, he persisted because he believed it was true. He felt a deep responsibility, especially as a father, to warn others and try to prevent these plans from unfolding. Icke argues that the real solution isn't just to address individual problems but to eliminate the root cause. He believes that throughout history, a small group of people have controlled the majority because the majority allowed it by obeying them. If people stopped obeying and surrendering their power, this small group would lose its control. For more Daily Dose Crypto News, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.